Okay, we'll look at this essay on getting married later in life. It is true that an increasing number of people have chosen to delay their time to get married and have a child over the past decade. Okay, good, you've led into the topic, which you need to do in an introduction, so that's fine. But I would make it slightly more formal, starting with "it is true." That's quite informal in style. So you could say, for example, in recent decades there has been a trend for people to get married later on in life and have to get married later in life and have a child later. Some believe that this affords individuals with opportunities to enhance their personal experience and career prospects, and personally I strongly agree. Okay, good, you've given your viewpoint, which is necessary. You could also say, give it some idea of the structure of the essay. So for example, this essay will, and whatever you're doing in the essay, show both sides of the argument, or this essay will argue, will show the advantages of marrying later in life and support with examples from the Canadian government, or whatever you're doing, just some extra little bit of information to show the structure of your whole essay. Okay. On the one hand, there is ample evidence that postponing the time to build up a family. Okay, evidence is an uncountable noun, so the subject-verb agreement is necessary here. So there is ample evidence that postponing the time to build up a family has brought negative influences on the family itself as well as the society on a larger scale. Good, that's a very clear topic sentence. That's good. Okay. Instead of saying build up a family, though, I think it's more typical to say to start a family. That's the more natural collocation. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, the wider age gap between parents and children often increases, okay, again, you be careful of subject-verb agreement, increases the communication barrier between them. Okay, that's a good point. It is primarily because it could be challenging to find a common topic to share, and their perceptions towards society and current affairs can be very different, which is possible. Okay, this is good. Just the last bit I would change. So you'd have to say which possibly contributes to arguments. So delete that is and change to possibly, which possibly contributes to arguments. Okay, secondly, delaying pregnancy can lead to you need an article, an insufficient supply of labour. Now you've put to the labour pool of society, that's quite long and it's unnecessary. It's perfectly clear to just say can lead to an insufficient, in fact you could say could lead to an insufficient labour supply, which is the typical expression, and see how much more concise that is. So when you can use compound nouns or be more concise, do, because that's a more suitable academic style. Okay, which in turn usually hinders the nation's progression and prosperity. Keep that singular, okay, because you're talking about the prosperity of one nation there. For example, recent empirical research by the Canada, so it should be the Canadian Labour Department, demonstrated that there would be a lack of physical sufficient workers. Okay, that's not a typical collocation there. I know what you mean. So what you could say, there would be a lack of manual labour, or you could simply say there would be a lack of construction labour. Again, that would make it shorter as well in 2025. Therefore, it's conclusively clear that delayed marriages and pregnancies pose threats to families and the advancement of society. Okay, your structure, your paragraph structure is very good. You've given a clear topic sentence, which is reflected in the whole paragraph, and you've supported it with an example, and you've given a concluding sentence. So very good paragraph structure. Just be careful to keep some of your phrasing more concise. On the other hand, there's no S there, so on the other hand, delete S. To prolong the time of being simple, I think you mean of being single, so it just probably is a typo there. To prolong the time of being single allows adults to fulfill their personal journey and career development. Okay, it is due to the fact that bachelors are male, and remember both men and women work, so I wouldn't just use one gender there, because it can look a little bit sexist, which you want to avoid. So it's due to the fact that people usually have flexibility and more time for themselves, for which they can travel around the world to explore different cultures, traditions and lifestyles. Yes, it's a good point. But I wouldn't use for which there, I would just say and they can travel around the world. Or and therefore they can. Okay. Consistent with this line of thinking is that single individuals can concentrate more on their careers, thus they are more likely to achieve success early in their lives. Good point. Women, for instance, have to take maternity leave. You don't need A there. Have to take maternity leave when they are going to give birth, and this absence at work has been known to result in an obstacle for them to climb up the ladder. You could make that a little bit more concise as well. This absence of work has been known to result in for example, you could say this absence at work has been known to hinder promotion opportunities. And that's much shorter, but includes all the relevant information. Consequently, it's possible to state beyond a doubt that later marriages and pregnancies are good things. I would avoid the word use of the word thing as much as you can. Sometimes you can't, but here you certainly don't need it because it's quite an informal word. Remember, you need to keep quite an academic style vocabulary. So you could say pregnancies are positive factors for enriching the individual's life experience and enhancing career prospects. Okay, good. Again, very good paragraph structure. To conclude, from the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that although there are some drawbacks to, again, we'd say starting a family and raising a child at an older age, this is a positive trend for both personal and employment development. Instead of employment, I would prefer the word career, because you're talking about development, so and career development or career advancement would be good too. Again, though, good clear conclusion. This is a very coherent essay. You've answered the question, so there is good task fulfillment, and you've expressed yourself well. So this is well done. Okay, so now let's look at the letter of complaint. I'm writing to complain about the horrible service that I experienced at your restaurant on March the 3rd, 2019. Yes, clear introduction to the topic. I was at your restaurant with my boyfriend to celebrate his birthday. Okay. I called in to confirm if it is allowed to bring in a birthday cake to eat when I made the reservation on March the 15th, 2019. Okay, it's slightly confusing there because the event happened on March the 3rd, and you say you made the reservation on March the 15th, so you must have made the reservation much earlier than that. It's just a small point. You could make that sentence a little bit more concise. So, for example, whilst making the reservation on March the 15th, 2019, I asked if I could bring in my own birthday cake, full stop. It's not necessary to say to eat, because that's kind of obvious, okay? Even the person who answered the phone said yes. My waitress refused to put it on the side for me. Okay, we need to connect those ideas. So I would say, although the person who answered the phone said yes, my waitress refused to put it on the side for me and serve it later, as she stated that it was not operated, you could say not restaurant made food, and food is uncountable, so no S. Also, I ordered a medium cooked steak. but it was all burnt when brought to me, and the kitchen refused to redo it. I would say recook it, okay, when I asked for that rather than it, when I asked for that, because you're not talking about the steak, you're talking about the actual recooking of the steak. Therefore, I required to speak to the supervisor, but I waited for 30 minutes. Don't use abbreviations in an IELTS essay, always write the words out in full. But I waited for 30 minutes and no one came to our table to solve the problem. And it must be passed, so I had to leave the restaurant with a feeling of anger and disappointment. You could make that it's fine, but you could make that a little bit more concise. So I had to leave the restaurant feeling angry and disappointed, which is just a little bit more concise. I have never had such a terrible dinner experience in my life, and I feel really embarrassed and disrespected. Okay, good. Disrespected is a very suitable word there. I would like to receive a full refund for the steak, and I hope you can take this complaint seriously and provide appropriate training to your staff in terms of customer service skills and attitude. Very good. Yes, that's good. Nice and clear. I look forward to hearing back from you promptly. Okay, good. Sincerely. Okay, again, this is a good task. You've fulfilled the task. You've dealt with all the 4 points in the question. It's very clear. The only thing I would say is if you can be slightly more concise or more compact in some of your phrasing, that's a good thing to aim for. But other than that I would say well done again.